Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Tokyo. On behalf of Asian Development Bank and ADB Institute, we are delighted to welcome you to our webinar, Supporting Workforce Transitions, Designing Effective Programs for Rescaling and Mobility. This is the second webinar of ADBI ADB Human Resource Webinar Series. My name is Zaomyo Jo, and I'm delighted to be your MC for today's webinar. Labor markets around the world are undergoing rapid transformations driven by demographic aging, the green transitions, and AI-driven digital transformations. These transformations are creating new skill demands and reshaping job structures. In this context, reskilling and lifelong skill development have become essential to support worker resilience, career mobility, and inclusive economic transitions. Today's webinar aims to address these challenges by sharing real-world experience from Singapore and the Republic of Korea, looking at how they support workforce transitions, deliver worker support programs, and how these models can inspire action in other countries in Asia and the Pacific. We hope today's discussions provide valuable insight and practical strategies to strengthen reskilling effort and promote inclusive labor market transitions in your own context. Before we proceed, please note that this webinar may be recorded, photographed, or live streamed. By continuing to participate, you consent to the use of your image, voice, or contributions in ADBI publications or other media for external communication purpose. Before I'd like to go over a few house rules. For participants, please use Q&A box to ask questions to our speakers and panelists. And also feel free to use chat box to share your reactions or comments with speakers or other fellow participants. To open today's webinars, we are honored to welcome Dr. Bambang Brodjonegoro, Dean and CEO of the Asian Development Bank Institute. Dean Bambang is a distinguished Indonesian economist who has held several key leadership positions in the government of Indonesia, including Minister of Finance, Minister of National Development Planning, and Minister of Research and Technology. With a strong academic background and extensive policy experience, Dean Bambang brings a wealth of knowledge on economic development and innovations. Please join me in welcoming Dean Bambang.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Very good afternoon, everybody. Distinguished speakers, esteemed guests, and colleagues. Welcome to this webinar on supporting workforce transition, designing effective programs for reskilling and mobility. It is a pleasure to speak on behalf of the Asian Development Bank Institute, ADBI, as we come together to explore how we can build stronger, more inclusive workforce strategies. As many of us are aware, the nature of work is changing rapidly in response to globalization and technological advancement. Looking back just 20 years, concepts like digitalization, artificial intelligence, automation, and green skills were hardly part of our everyday vocabulary. At the time, basic IT literacy was enough to navigate most jobs, but that's no longer the case. Today, technology is fundamentally reshaping not only how we work, but also what we work on. At the same time, global challenges such as climate change and demographic shifts are creating entirely new industries requiring new skill sets, particularly in areas like sustainability and the green economy. This shift brings great opportunities, but also real challenges. According to the World Economic Forum, by 2030, 170 million new jobs will be created globally, while 92 million jobs are expected to be lost. Nearly 60% of the workforce will need substantial upskilling, yet many may have not access to the necessary training. And remember, 2030 is just 5 years from now. We are clearly in the midst of major workforce transformation. The pace of change is only getting faster, and we still face a significant gap if we hope to meet these targets in time. To stay competitive and inclusive in this fast-moving environment, countries must prioritize large-scale reskilling and upskilling initiatives. Empowering individuals with future-ready skills is essential, not just for boosting productivity, but for ensuring that everyone has the chance to benefit from economic progress. However, this is not a challenge governments can solve alone. It requires strong collaboration between workers, employers, and policymakers. And most importantly, it demands a sustained commitment to lifelong learning, which is accessible to all. That's why today's webinar is so timely and important. We are fortunate to be joined by two leading experts who are directly involved in preparing for and adapting to this transformation. We will hear about the experiences of Singapore and South Korea, both of which have launched ambitious national lifelong learning programs, and learn how large-scale reskilling is being implemented in practice. Supporting workforce transition is not just about anticipating future jobs. It is about equipping people, especially the most vulnerable, with the tools, opportunities, and resilience they need to succeed. Let me close by thanking our speakers, moderators, and all of you joining us today. Your participation makes this dialogue meaningful. Through shared learning and collective action, we can shape smarter, fairer solutions to help workers transition with confidence into the future. I look forward to engaging and productive discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dean, for your insightful remarks. Next, I'm also pleased to welcome Dr. Gin Song, Director of Human and Social Development Sector Office at ADB, who brings over 20 years of experience in international developments. She has led numerous ADB programs in education, skill development, health, and social protection across South Asia and the Pacific. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gin Song. Dr. Song, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, MC. And terima kasih banyak, Pak Bambang. Actually, Dr. Bambang already covered lots of points that I also kind of prepared as an opening remarks. So I kind of feel all of a sudden becoming irrelevant workers in the fast changing or better kind of capable AI. So let me kind of try to quickly adapt to this situation and then try to demonstrate how the kind of adaptation and reorienting my role in this is important as the workers actually try to find themselves in the fast changing world of work and against all these demographic changes, especially aging, digital transformation, overpowered by the AI that's actually exceeding one or collective human intelligence, and the green transition. Many countries actually being affected by climate changes, and then you see that we are kind of everyday victim of that. And then that is not the new thing to the challenges to the workforce as well. So my background as a project and program person here in ADB, supporting a lot of development initiatives, this is like a kind of challenge that we kind of try to help the different countries to overcome, especially for the education and skill development, and to prepare people for all these changes, mainly for the new generation. But we cannot really ignore the dire necessity of the incumbent workers who are currently in the job market, and then the market forces is actually very strong and sweeping way. Soon they will face a lot of those challenges, and then we will hear a lot more on the losing jobs and so on, which is already happening in the many developed countries. But soon enough, this will be also serious issues in the developing countries. I work in South Asia, and then that kind of changes already start showing the symptoms of like a grave impact on the working population, while the large number of like a new entrant to the market is also struggling to find the jobs. So we have like a double jeopardy of situation. So today I am very keen to learn from Professor Sinchul Jang and Mr. Wei Xiong Tan, who are kind of very kind of experienced practitioner and policymaker or implementer of these very important policies that we would like to actually get a lot of insight. So thank you very much again for today's participation to the webinar. Then I hope like this webinar will sparks deeper thinking, exchange of ideas, and the future collaboration across our region. Once again, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to engaging and productive discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Song, for sharing your experience and also the encouraging remarks. So now this is the time of that we are waiting. We move on to our main presentation sessions, where we will hear from two distinguished speakers sharing their insights. To facilitate these sessions, I'm pleased to introduce to our moderator, Ms. Boyoung Jang. Ms. Boyoung, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you
Yeah.
very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for the kind handover. And once again, thank you, Dean Bambang and Director Song, for setting the stage so clearly and so lovely. Your remarks has already framed the context perfectly. I think there's no need to repeat the importance of a reskilling and upskilling, but that really matters is how to deliver and build and deliver effective, accessible, and sustainable support system to help workers make that transition in real and practical terms. So that's exactly what we're here to explore today, and we are very lucky to have two excellent case studies from Singapore and Korea, both of which have a very innovative and practical approaches to support workforce transition at scale. So here we've joined by two our very distinguished and outstanding speakers, Mr. Wei Xiong Tan and Professor Sinchul Jang, both of whom brings deep and hands-on experiences in policy design and implementation. So let's start with our first speaker, Mr. Wei Xiong Tan, Deputy Director at Skilled Future Singapore. Wei Xiong has worked across the Skilled Future Singapore and the Ministry of Education for more than a decade, leading key strategies for workforce development in Singapore. Today, he will share with us how Singapore has built and delivered its integrated reskilling and career support ecosystem, from data-driven insights to implementation. Wei Xiong, you have 15 minutes, and I will give you a quick reminder when 2 minutes are left. So Wei Xiong, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Boyoung. I hope you can see the screen.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Thank you. So good afternoon to everyone. And for those in different time zones, good morning or good evening. My name is Wei Xiong. I'm from Skillshare Singapore. And today I'll be sharing on how we design and deliver an integrated reskilling and career support system in Singapore. Let me first begin with an introduction of what SkillsFuture is. SkillsFuture is our national movement to provide Singaporeans with the opportunities to develop to their fullest potential throughout life through skills mastery and lifelong learning. This movement started in 2015, and this year marks the 10th anniversary of the SkillsFuture movement. There are 4 key thrusts, as you can see on screen, or what we call the long-term goals for SkillsFuture. We aim to help individuals make informed education, training, and career choices, promote recognition of skills by employers, develop a robust, responsive, and high-quality training ecosystem, and lastly, to develop a societal culture that supports and celebrates lifelong learning. Now, one of the key agencies responsible for achieving the vision and outcomes of this movement is SkillsFuture Singapore Agency, that's SSG for short. And SSG is a statutory board under the Ministry of Education. As the National Skills Authority, SSG's work involves, number one, identifying developments in the content of jobs and changes in skills demand. Two, disseminating and communicating skills that matter to our stakeholders through job skills insights and tools. Three, activating skills through funding support for training courses that address skills gaps, and also mobilizing enterprises and industry players to adopt skills-first hiring and talent development strategies. And lastly, to monitor the skills situation of our workforce. We do the above through a combination of data-driven insights, such as labor market intelligence, as well as an ecosystem approach where we work closely with other government agencies and industry partners. Let me now illustrate this ecosystem approach with two examples. The first example is on the green transition, which our earlier speakers have mentioned about. Now, as part of Singapore's move towards a greener economy, we set up a National Green Skills Committee, which comprises government agencies including SSG, employers, labour unions, trade associations and chambers, professional bodies, and institutes of higher learning. The committee set up two work groups to identify green jobs and skills in two critical areas for Singapore's green transition, namely energy and sustainability reporting and assurance. Each work group developed an end-to-end green skills plan that articulated, as you can see in box 2 and 3, the jobs, skills, and manpower demands for green transition in those areas, which then informed, in box 4, the formulation and implementation of continuing education and training, or we call CET, courses and pathways for the workforce. The second example is what we call Jobs Transformation Maps, or JTM for short. This is where government agencies work with professional bodies, industry, and unions on the impact of trends such as technology on jobs and the workforce in different sectors. These insights then inform moves such as job redesign and upskilling and reskilling efforts. So far, we have 17 JTMs publicly available, and we have 3 more upcoming in the areas of air transport, training and adult education, as well as the impact of generative AI on the financial services sector. Now, these two examples show how different stakeholders in our skills ecosystem come together to ensure coherence between the demand and supply of jobs and skills to support industry transformation. I also mentioned earlier about data insights in SSG's work. Now, we have recently launched the SkillsFuture Job Skills Portal, which has a number of jobs skills reports, dashboards, and tools to provide our ecosystem stakeholders with actionable insights and data that can help them to make informed skills development decisions. For example, on this topic of reskilling today, to support career transition and reskilling decisions for our workers, we have this Skills and Jobs Mobility Dashboard. Individuals can select origin or destination job roles, and there will be a backend algorithm which will provide suggestions on the shortest and optimal career transition pathways based on, number 1, skill similarities between the jobs, and 2, the likelihood of transition based on actual workforce transitions in the past 2 years. This dashboard would also provide information on wages, differentiating skills of the jobs, and also the relevant training courses to help individuals make more informed decisions. Now, beyond intelligence and insights, to help individuals in their career pivot towards sectors and jobs with good prospects, we have also rolled out career transition and placement programs. One such program is the SkillsFuture Career Transition Program, or SCTP, by SkillsFuture Singapore. This is what we call a train and place program, where individuals first attend training of 3 to 12 months, either in part-time or full-time modality, and thereafter they are supported by employment facilitation and career advisory services to enhance their employment prospects post-training. Another program is the Career Conversion Program by Workforce Singapore. Now, this is a statutory board under our Ministry of Manpower. Unlike the SCTP, this Career Conversion Program is what we call place and train. And that means job seekers are first hired by the companies, hence placed, before then they undergo on-the-job training or industry-recognized training for their new roles. Salary support of up to 90% is provided for mid-career workers. So here's an example of a SCTP program by HMI Institute of Health Sciences, which helps mid-career workers to pivot into job roles in the care economy in Singapore, where we have a high demand for manpower. Now, beyond technical skills, we understand that soft skills are increasingly important for our workforce as well. As such, SSG has identified 16 critical core skills needed by our workers. There are corresponding courses funded by SSG for mid-career workers who wish to strengthen their skills in these areas. Now let me move on to funding support for our learners, which I understand may be an area of interest for our audience today. Under SkillsFuture, for courses which deliver skills for good or emerging jobs, and also in areas that are required for the manpower needs of our economy, the government provides course fee subsidies of up to 70% for Singapore citizens, permanent residents, and small and medium-sized enterprises. For learners aged 40 and above, they or their companies can get up to 90% subsidy of the course fees. SSG also provides absentee payroll funding to help employers defray manpower costs incurred when they send their employees for certifiable skills training. Now, beyond course fee subsidy, we also provide each Singaporean aged 25 and above with a SkillsFuture credit, which can be then used to offset the cost of eligible training courses. The opening credit is $500, which can be used across a lifetime and does not expire. Now, for Singaporeans who are aged 40 and above, under this new SkillsFuture Level Up program, they will get an additional $4,000 top up in their SkillsFuture credit, which can then be used to pursue a substantive skills reboot to stay relevant in the changing economy. For those who are 40 and above who wish to pursue long-form training, such as a diploma in our polytechnics, we further provide a mid-career training allowance of up to $3,000 per month for full-time training. From next year onwards, a flat rate of $300 per month will also be given for part-time training. Individuals are eligible for training allowance up to a maximum of 24 months across their entire lifetime. So here are some statistics. In 2024, we have about 550,000 individuals and 24,000 employers who have participated in and benefited from SSG-supported programs. The number of Singaporeans who tap on their SkillsFuture credit has also increased from 2023. In terms of training quality, we also seen that the training quality and reported outcomes from SSG-funded training have improved over the years. SSG will continue to shift our programs and funding to give greater emphasis to employability outcomes and industry relevance. Now, last year, our Prime Minister also announced a new SkillsFuture Job Seeker Support Scheme to provide temporary financial support of up to $6,000 over 6 months to Singaporeans 21 years old and above who are involuntarily unemployed and who meet the eligibility criteria, as you can see on the screen. A unique feature of this scheme is that participants will receive support for relevant job search activities and earn points along the way. And once they reach their monthly point targets, they will then redeem monthly payouts. So here's an illustration. As you can see on the left, or the top chart, this shows the maximum monthly payout that a job seeker can get over 6 months. However, if the past average gross monthly salary is lower than the maximum eligible for that month, the job seeker will only receive his or her past average gross monthly salary for that month instead. The right diagram shows some of the activities that job seekers can participate in to earn points for the monthly payout. Now, this point system is put in place to ensure that while individuals who are unemployed get money, they are also actively taking steps to re-enter the workforce, and the payout will stop the moment a job seeker secures a job. To ensure sustainability of funding, in addition to government grants, all employers in Singapore are also required to pay Skills Development Levy, or SDL, at 0.25% of an employee's monthly salary. This is capped at $11.25 per month per employee. And SDL will then finance our Skills Development Fund, which supports workforce upgrading programs and provide training grants to employers when they send their employees to attend training. Now, in summary, I've covered today how we adopt an ecosystem approach involving multiple stakeholders to ensure integration between the demand and supply of jobs and skills to support industry transformation. I also shared about how we have data-driven insights and tools, and also career transition programs to help mid-career individuals upskill, reskill, and move into growth and emerging jobs. Lastly, how our funding support makes learning affordable and accessible for our learners. Through all these, we hope to help our learners take charge of their own skills development and seize the opportunities that future economy brings. With that, I've come to the end of my sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wei Xiong. You finished quite earlier. Thank you so much to allow us more space for further discussions. And the achievement in the yearly report looks very remarkable. So I really, it was very impressive to me. And next, I would like to turn to our next speakers, Professor Sinchul Jang from Korea University of Technology and Education, known as Korea Tech. He served in the Korea Ministry of Employment and Labor for 30 years, where he played a central role in building a core workforce development system in Korea, including the employment insurance scheme and individual learning accounts and more. So here today, we are truly fortunate to learn from his first-hand experience in building the legal, financial, and institutional foundations of Korea's workforce training ecosystem. So Professor Jang, as you have 20 minutes, and we kindly ask you to keep within the time. And now it's 3:27, so you have 20 minutes. And Professor Jang, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Boyoung. My name is Sinchul Jang, but I think my first name is hard to remember, so please just call me Merot Jang or Bike Jang. I am using two email. And today, I will present you about these issues. Main issue is related with workforce transition training, but I will also put much emphasis on training system underpinning this kind of workforce transition. And please just look at these contents. Let me just dive into page 2. Here, I wrote down that employment insurance system is a key instrument supporting vocational training in Korea. It is well known, actually. Korean employment insurance system consists of these 3 schemes, and all the training system are covered by all the trainings are covered by this skill development scheme. And through this scheme, Korean government support employer-led training or individual-led training. So the workforce transition training are also operated under the employment insurance system in Korea. You can see the current training system under the EIS. On left side is employer-led training. I will not elaborate on this today, and the main focus will be on the individual-led learning training. Individual-led training. Here, you can see the K-digital training and the digital for industrial restructuring. This is directly related with workforce transition training. Okay. Here, in implementing these 2 kinds of training, individual learning account system is a pivotal system to support reskilling or Korea transition training. But here, please look at this table, and you can see in early 1997, amongst the total labor cost, employers invested about 1.8% in the training, but in 2023, the portion is shrinked to the level of 1/5 probably. And here I mentioned that most of Korean employers show little interest in employer-led training anymore. It's a big problem, and the heated debate is going on how to reshuffle this employer-led training. Here, you can see the graphs. The green bar is a employer-led training, and for the last 15 years, it is very stagnant. But blue line, individual learning account training, goes up everywhere, and huge money is going into this individual learning account training. Here, main scheme of Korean individual learning account training. Individuals can receive $2,200 US or $3,300 US for 5 years. In case of this privileged class of people, they can receive this one, and those who are not poor receive $2,200 US. And there is a self-burden out of pocket money from trainees, and it ranges from 0% to 55%. And not all economically active population are not covered by this ILA system due to budget constraints. And I will not elaborate on this, but about 15% of economically active population was omitted from this ILA system. And the budget of ILA system comes from EIS fund, general taxation, and also out-of-pocket money from trainees. I will elaborate on this later. Okay, concerning the workforce transition training, I will explain two trainings. The first one is K-Digital training, just in short, KDT training. And usually youngsters are taking part in this KDT training, and the area includes semiconductor, displays, and eco-ops, and other advanced and conversion field like AI. And but in this training, training providers and companies need to sign an agreement to design the training course together and organize more than 30% of problem-based learning courses. This is a obligation. And usually training providers cultivate trainees and sell them in the labor market. But in that case, there can be a oversupply or short supply. So to cope with that problem, under this KDT training, training providers and the companies need to design the training course together. And you can see the budget, and this year, about 45,000 people are supposed to take part in this training. Second one is a special training for industrial restructuring. This training is to move workers from sunset industry to growing industry. And here, 17 regional sector councils and 19 industrial sector councils are doing very important jobs. And their main role is to make a survey on manpower demand and supply. Manpower demand and supply. And based on their survey, the Ministry of Labor can adjust the number of training courses and the number of participants in a certain training area. And this year, the target number is about 20,000 people. But in Korea, we don't compile any statistics under the name of green skill or green training because the concept of green has not been internationally defined, and I think it is still an evolving concept, and Korean Ministry of Labor do not collect these statistics. And let's look at the funding sources of training. Before COVID crisis, general taxation covers about 10%, but after COVID crisis, about 40% are covered by general taxation. And as I mentioned earlier, participants may pay part of the training cost. And here, you can see the EIS premium. And here, employment stability scheme and skill development scheme, under this scheme, the premium rate is only one. It is combined together. And as you can see, employers only pay the premium. And the premium level is not so high. Over firms over 1,000 employees pay only 0.85% on their payroll, each employee's payroll. But for example, in France, the training tax is 1% for every employers with more than 11 employees. It's a very high training tax. And this page shows self-burden rate of trainees. And you can see the self-burden rate is made by combining employment rate after training for the last 3 years and economic difficulties of trainees. And so in case of a very low income group of people, there is no self-pay. And if the employment rate is very low in a certain occupation, and then general employees who are not poor pays more than 50%. And here, in case of 9 oversupplied occupations, additional 10% of co-payment is imposed. And for example, barista, cooking, beauty, and beauty and hairdressing is a typical oversupplied occupation. And I think these days, young Koreans take many barista or cooking course, but I don't like this very much. And as you know, in those occupations, 50% of startups will fail within 3 years. And I think Korean young people should be more ambitious and take more training in promising occupations. Here, you can see the number of participants by ILA system. Around every year, 1 million Korean people took training. And here, you can see that trainees over 50, over the age of 50, accounts for over 30% of trainees. And I think this is a good phenomenon. And this indicates that ILA system is functioning as a core tool of lifelong education, I think. 4 minutes left. Okay. I will skip this part. All the explanation I made is based on these two laws or acts. And I will also skip this part. It's just governance of training. And concerning the implications to Asian Pacific countries, I think many Asian countries who do not have a levy system are considering introduction of levy system if your countries face under or unstable funding for training and employers are reluctant to do training. And here, I think the most critical thing is that how strong is the central government's commitment. Korea adopted the levy system in 1974 to overcome underfunding of the training. At the time, Korea's per capita GDP is below 400 US dollars, and it is now, in terms of present value, it is now, I think, 3,000 US dollars. But as you can see here, Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Vietnam their per capita GDP is way over 3,000 US dollars, except Cambodia. Levy system is introduced here. And over 70 countries worldwide by UNESCO statistics, the average rate is 1.3, and pay level is between 1 and 2%. So I think let's talk about this levy system when we have a discussion session. And second,
sorry to interrupt. You have
okay.
2 minutes left. Yeah.
Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, and I found that in most of Pacific Asian countries, free trainings are provided, but there are advantages and disadvantages of free training. And I found several countries training for the unemployed, and there are no self burden to trainees. Here, big debate is going on about the free training, and some scholars, including me, that free training should be completely eliminated. and I think that at least 10% of the training cost should be burdened by trainees. And my last implication is you need to convert your current training system for the unemployed to the training voucher at first as a first step, and then later you can switch it into individual learning encounter system. Training voucher system is well known, and it can boost the consumer choice and the quality competition amongst training providers. And there are many advantages of individual learning encounter system. And in case of Korea, still much rooms for development. French CPF, individual learning encounter system, is the perfect OECD mentioned in several years ago. And in case of Korea, the validity period is now 5 years, and it needed to be expanded to lifelong. And we need to do introduction of a top-up system like Singapore government are doing. We still do not have any top-up system. And I mentioned this, ILA system need to cover entire economic population, active population. And I attached several appendix for your reference, and I will not elaborate on this. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Professor Jang. That was comprehensive for presentations.
Okay.
We've learned a lot, especially how Korea has institutionalized the sustainable funding mechanisms. It's the training levy system, of course, Singapore, but this is a real challenge of developing member countries met. So it was very noteworthy that Korea introduced this system at the time when its income level was just comparable to those of developing countries today, and which makes your experience more applicable, I think. So thank you so much. And now we have only 12 minutes left for discussions, and we've already have several great questions in the Q&A box and chat box. So the audience participants, you can keep writing, typing on your questions in the box. And now I would like to start with my prepared question to our two speakers. To the Wei Xiong, yeah, Singapore has very advanced training systems, but as you know, in many developing countries, there are still constraints. Like in terms of resources, institutional capacities, and infrastructure. So from your perspective, what should be the top priorities when they expand their training system like yours?
Thanks, Boyoung. I must first caveat, I think every country has its own unique challenges, circumstances, and operating context. So I don't profess to be able to tell what other countries should do. But I think looking at what Singapore's own experience, having been in this industry transformation work for the past few years, I would say there are three things which I would call success factors for what we do. First is what I think what we call policy priorities. So for example, in the green transition, actually there are many things that need to be green transited, right? Many parts of the sectors, etc. And how do you then decide as a government, what are your priorities? I think that's important because having very clear economic strategies set from the top would then help us to then decide actually what would be the downstream jobs, skills, and training transformations that we need to have. So policy priorities will be number one. Number two, I think once we have those priorities set out, it is then important to see how we bring the relevant people in the ecosystem together. So as you can see from the Singapore examples I shared earlier, government can't do this alone. You need the industry to come in, and you need the unions, the workers to be on board. You even need your training providers, your institutions of higher learning, all to be here together to take collective ownership in then developing this process. Because actually there is a whole discussion on, okay, this is where I want to go, but what jobs do we want? What skills do we need? And then thereafter, how do I launch training that's actually relevant? So having everybody coming together for joint collective ownership, I think that's most critical. And the last point is actually quality of training and training the adult educators. I think this is important because at the end of the day, I think for any one of us here who goes for training, what we want is to make sure that the training is industry relevant. And then after the training, I can get some good outcomes, whether it is career progression, whether it is wage growth, etc. Right? So the quality of training generally determines the confidence that individuals have when they actually have to put money in the game to go for your training. And I think this whole thing is actually a virtuous cycle, how you then have policy priorities, joint ownership, and actually good training. And when the whole thing comes together, I think that's where you have a bit more sustainable system going forward. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree that these three factors are so important. And your last part, or it's related with my question to Professor Jang, actually. So as you mentioned, the quality of training is crucial for the effectiveness of training courses. So in many countries, they faces a lack of training providers, or shortage of qualified instructors. So, Professor Zhang, in your view, what kind of efforts are needed for the developing countries to address this gap? Are there any strategies or partnerships, whether domestic or international, to help address these gaps? You can share your in Korea's experience or your views. Thank you, Professor Zhang.
Okay. As I pointed out, to implement a very good training, good training facilities and qualified training instructors are required. And I think this demands substantial financial resources. I think ultimately it comes down to funding. And I heard that many Asian Pacific countries are also considering adopting introduction of a levy system to cope with the underfunding of the training. And we can think of ODA program from foreign countries or international organizations. It can be very helpful, but I think they are very unstable sources that can be cut off at any time. Therefore, I think each country needs a very stable funding system suited to its own circumstances. But I examined about what kind of levy system can be possible in Asian Pacific countries, and I think you don't need to apply levy system to entire companies. You can start with only 500 only companies with more than 500 employees or more. Like Korea started in 1974, and once it is well established, and then you can expand it to for example, companies with more 300 employees or more. And you may think that business owners who need to pay the level may have some complaints. It's true, but it is they who can ultimately utilize skilled workers trained through the levy funds. And I think from the perspective of the beneficiary pays principle, there is no issue with collecting the levy. So if I were a policymaker in Asian Pacific countries, I will I will introduce strongly this levy system in your country. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jang. Actually, we have so many questions in the Q&A box and chat box, but we have only 4 minutes left, so let's try to address some questions first. Wei Xiong was the first speaker, there's lots of questions to Wei Xiong. So here's a question from Leah Gayares. A great support from the Singapore government. What does it take to convince employers to hire mid-career shifters and take a chance on them? Wei Xiong, did you also see this question in chat box? Could
Yes, I did. Yeah.
take this?
Sure, no problem. Thanks for the question. That's a great question. I think there will always be concerns and reservations, especially I think from business owners, to take workers who are slightly more mature or older. But I think in Singapore, what we've tried to do, I would say also 3 things. One, I think we make it very clear, and we try to be very clear where the areas of manpower demand are. Which are the jobs that actually require people and have jobs that are not filled for a long time, and we make this information publicly available, so that then actually everybody knows, including every individual in Singaporeans know, actually these are jobs with good prospects, good wages that they can go into. I think that's number one on the individual's front. I mentioned earlier also in Singapore, we look at career transition at what we call the transition paths. So we try to also see whether it's through data insights or even in our employment facilitation processes, how do we help individuals understand the skills that they already bring with them, the experiences they bring with them, and how these can then be transferable and adjacent to the new roles that actually are available and require more manpower. So when you have a good match of demand and a good match of skills adjacencies, I think that will be what makes the transition a lot easier. Of course, the third will be the most important thing, which is the change in the mindset of employers. We have been, I think, through SkillsFuture, trying to move employers from a plug and play mindset to at least a plug, train, and play mindset. So essentially, you bring the mid-career workers in and be prepared to train them or actually send them for training, and government will support you in this process. And I think with that, employers feel a little bit more assured that there is some support, at least they have a manpower. Of course, the skills may have some gaps, but then you can top up either on the job through on-the-job training, or you can send your workers for training, and government will have XP payroll or cost fee subsidies, etc., to support some of these. So I think what we can do is to then provide that system, which then hopefully shapes and changes employers' behavior over time. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Actually, we have a lot of questions, so we cannot address all these questions in this webinar, but we will keep all these questions, take notes, and then try to answer the questions by email. So there are some questions to the Professor Jang about the AI Korea's employment systems, the contribution rate. This kind of questions we can give you an answer through the email. And
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Please send the email address of the questioner, and then I will answer it through email. Okay.
So yes, our MC Joe, please keep these questions to answer them. So now it's 4 p.m. already, and I would like to wrap up our discussion today. And On behalf of ADBI and our partners, thank you very much to our excellent speakers and to everyone who joined us online today. We hope today's sessions gives you some practical insights and new ideas to support the development of more resilient, inclusive, skilled system in your own country. So now I will hand over to Joe for final announcements. Thank you.
This concludes our webinar on supporting workforce transitions, designing effective programs for reskilling and mobility. We hope you found the discussions insightful and enriching. Thank you to our speakers, moderator, and all the participants for making this event a success. You may leave the webinar after answering the survey. Thank you to Professor Jang. Thank you, Mr. Wei Xiong, for joining and for your valuable time for today. It is a great presentations and the great discussions we had. Thank you very much again.